full electrification's the fashion at present, even for MPV buyers. Well, here's one you might like. If you can afford the higher asking price and can cope with the 172-mile driving range, then there aren't too many other downsides in opting for the fully electric Peugeot e-Rifter, the only Rifter variant now on offer. It certainly might be a tempting option if you're looking for a full electric compact family car and don't want a compact SUV. Here there's the option of a 7-seater cabin too, which is rare to find in an EV at present, except with the Citroën and Vauxhall models that share this one's design.
So what's it like? Well, you sit quite high and SUV-like in front of a 10-inch instrument screen that unusually you view over the steering wheel rim rather than through it. Pressing the start button gets you a beep and a green ready message on the display ahead. You're ready for MPV motoring electric style. Unlike some EVs, this one doesn't spring away from rest in a flurry of torque. It's all much more linear and combustion-like, whichever of the available drive modes you select. There are 3, Eco, Normal and Power, and you won't want to spend too long in Eco unless you really are eking out battery capacity, because it reduces the powertrain's normal 134 bhp output to just 80 bhp and also restricts the climate system to conserve power. Peugeot suggests that you do most of your driving in the normal setting, which increases the motor output to 107 bhp. The top power mode isn't really intended for sporty driving, but for situations when you're carrying heavy loads. The powertrain also has a B setting, which increases the level of regenerative braking to a point where the car slows so much when you come off the throttle that you'll very rarely need to use the brake unless you're coming to a complete stop. Other than that, there's not too much to get used to in driving an e-Rifter. The little steering wheel feels completely at odds with the car's utilitarian vibe and tall, tippy shape. You certainly wouldn't be encouraged in any way to go throwing the thing around, even if you were late for the school play or had left dinner burning in the oven. Anyway, that would decimate your driving range, which is claimed at 172 miles for this standard length model, around 30 miles less than the full electric Vauxhall Corsa and Peugeot 208 Super Minis that also use this battery. But it's much closer to the range figure of the Citroën e-C4, which also uses it. Like all electric vehicles, this one has a bit of a weight problem. That drivetrain adds over 300 kilos of bulk, but that arguably helps the e-Rifter when it comes to ride quality. You'll feel things like speed bumps keenly, but at speed on the open road it handles tarmac tears a little better than its combustion cousins. This e-Rifter feels really at home in an urban environment, surprisingly really, because it's quite a large car, especially in long wheelbase form. But you'll feel really confident in it on the school run because all-round visibility is great, the steering is light, and as we've said, the suspension deals with porous surfaces quite well. Parking's easy because rear sensors and a reversing camera are standard fit across the range. We mentioned the WLTP rated range in our driving experience section, 172 miles. That's for this standard body length. Bear in mind that this figure drops to 166 if you go for the long length version. To give you some real-world perspective, in our time with the car over a mixture of different driving, we've been struggling to get much more than 135 miles of range between charges from this standard length version. To optimise range, you'll need to make full use of the car's regenerative braking system, regularly activating the provided B mode via the central console to maximise energy recovery during braking. The centre screen has a dedicated EV section where that power flow meter sits, along with a statistics section which graphically shows your recent energy usage in miles per kilowatt hour, and a charge section which allows you to set charging times in tune with cheaper electricity rates. Ah yes, charging. What about that? Well, as you'd want, the e-Rifter supports up to 100 kilowatt rapid or DC charging, with an 80% recharge taking less than 30 minutes, while a full charge from a 7.4 kilowatt single-phase wall box takes 7.5 hours, thanks to the 7.4 kilowatt onboard charger. There's very little outward differentiation to identify this particular Rifter's all-electric status. Unless you notice the lack of tailpipes and the addition of a charging flap, extra badging and trim accents are the only giveaways. You'll really need the extra embellishment of the top GT trim level we have here, though, if you want to distract the attention of passers-by from the fact that all you've actually really got here is a Peugeot partner van with extra seats and windows. Right, let's take a look inside. At the wheel, at first glance anyway, it's much as in the old combustion-powered conventional Rifter, or indeed a Peugeot partner van. That means that there's the brand's usual i-cockpit design, which uses this much smaller than normal little 3-spoke wheel. You view the dials over the top of its rim rather than conventionally through its spokes. And once you've got used to that, if you look a little closer around, you'll start to see some of this EV variant's model-specific differences. This little EV drive toggle switch, for instance, that takes the place of the usual gear selector. And of course, there are EV-specific features on both of the provided displays. Let's start with the 10-inch instrument screen you view above the wheel rim, which, in its standard layout, has a battery indicator on the left, a digital speedo in the middle, and a power, eco, charge drive meter on the right. Using this little rotary controller on the left-hand steering wheel spoke, you can alter the screen layout through various settings: energy, dials, driving, navigation, minimal, and personal. Whatever you choose, the resolution is sharply defined and easy to read. Which can't really also be said for the central 8-inch infotainment display. Still, at least it has a physical volume dial, and more importantly, it's not burdened with the climate controls, which are separated out further down the centre stack. We've saved arguably the best bit, though, till last: cabin practicality. If you were to add up the capacity of all the 28 different nooks and crannies available within the interior of this Rifter, you'd arrive at a figure of 167 litres, about as much as you get in the entire boot of some city cars. Right, enough on what the front of the cabin's like. Let's take a seat in the second row. Now, both short and long wheelbase e-Rifter models offer access to this part of the car via these sliding side doors. The sliding doors are rather heavy to close from the inside, and this format means you can't have door pockets either. Still, on the plus side, this second row offers enough space to suit a wide variety of passenger shapes and sizes. And because the battery pack is mounted beneath this MPV model's floor, cabin space is not compromised at all over comparable combustion-engined Rifter models. So, there are vast standards of headroom, and because the centre transmission tunnel is virtually non-existent, it's straightforward to accommodate 3 fully sized adults if need be. If you're able to stretch to this top-spec GT level of trim, you'll get the 3 individual rear seats that really ought to be optional further down the range. With base Allure premium spec, though, you'll be stuck with the conventional fixed bench, which really doesn't do very much at all, unable to slide or recline in the way you'd hope an MPV model rear seat might. All e-Rifters get these aircraft-style seatback tables with cup holder points, but you don't get the useful underfloor storage compartments that used to feature on the old combustion models. Blame the bulky EV powertrain below you for that. Twin vents are provided back here, and you get a separate climate control if you've a model with a dual zone system fitted. Lower down, there's a USB socket too. And that's about it, assuming you've gone for the kind of standard length 5-seat short wheelbase Rifter we've been testing here. Were we to be buying this Peugeot though, we'd be tempted to pay the small amount extra for the long body style with its 2 extra boot-mounted chairs. The fact that these sit within a spacious 4.75 metre body shape means that they can, at a pitch, be quite comfortably used by adults on short to medium-length journeys. It's just another example of this Peugeot's flexibility. Now, whatever way you specify this Rifter, its cargo area will be vast, and the clever battery pack underfloor placement we mentioned earlier means that the capacity figures are unaltered from those of the previous combustion-powered models, though there's no storage space beneath the floor in this one. But you don't really need it, because even this 5-seat short wheelbase standard length variant can swallow 775 litres in this boot, while the lengthier wheelbase long version has a capacity of up to 1,050 litres. This parcel shelf at the back can take up to 25 kilograms of weight, so for instance you could put the dog on top of the shopping. Fold down the 3 individual rear seats and up to 3,000 litres is freed up here. With a long wheelbase model, it'll be up to 4,000 litres with both the back seating rows folded. In addition, with either body style, if you're taking really long items, the front passenger seat can be folded flat, allowing items like surfboards of up to 3,050 millimetres long to be taken inside long spec models. There must be plenty of people out there who want a family-shaped compact electric vehicle, maybe as a second car, but don't want an SUV. It would have to be realistically priced, have an acceptable driving range, and not look too van-like. The e-Rifter, to our eyes anyway, ticks all these boxes. Jack of all trades then, and master of one, the art of bypassing fuel stations.